Chapter number 1, Indian history. Why we need to study Indian history. So to why we study, first question arises, why we study Indian history. We study Indian history to know how our ancestors lived, what languages they spoken, what problems they faced, and how they overcame it. And what is the present scenario we are seeing today, came how this came, why we are like today. So these are all are the reasons why we study Indian history. So next question arises, then what are the sources, हम कैसे जानेंगे कि इंडियन हिस्ट्री कैसे पढ़ें, क्यों पढ़नी चाहिए, और हमें कैसे पता चलेगा कि यही सब हुआ था. तो इसके लिए we know that we study Indian history from the evidences that our ancestors have left behind, the objects that our ancestors have left behind. So we can classify them on 4 types. We can classify them under the 4 categories. First is for the near past. For near past we have paper or printed records. Then second category, when printing was not done. When printing was not done, we have records written by hands on paper. And when third category is when paper was not made. For that time we have records written by hand. We have records written on dried palm leaves, thin bark of a birch tree, plates of copper, etc. Also we have the records engraved in large rocks, pillars, stone walls, buildings. And the fourth category is when language was not known, or I would say when language was unknown. Knowledge about the life of those people comes from the objects they have left behind. So these are the four categories that are the evidences. So now we will study about I would say we will know about some Indian script. First is the Ashokan Brahmi. That was in the 4th century BC, before Common Era. Second is the Central Asian cursive. Third is the Tibetan script, and fourth is the Sanskrit, that was in the 6th century Common Era. The fifth is Sarada, 8th century Common Era, and sixth is Vetaluttu mixed with Grantha, 9th century AD, and Old Kannada, Bengali, Gujarati, Multani, and Tamil. These are some Indian scripts. So what comes next topic is the manuscripts. What are manuscripts? Manuscripts are ancient old books which are written on dried palm leaves, thin bark of a birch tree, plates of copper, or buildings. Then in what languages these manuscripts are written? So first is the Pali and Sanskrit. No. I would instead like saying this, Pali and Prakrit. These are the older languages which are not used in everyday life of India anymore today. Second is the Sanskrit and Arabic, still used in religious ceremonies in India, but it is also not used in everyday life of common people. Third is the Tamil, that is our old classical language. And then comes about the inscription. What are inscriptions? Inscriptions are the writings engraved either on large rocks, pillars, stone walls, buildings, etc. These are called inscriptions. And next come the term Archaeology. What do you mean by archaeology? Archaeology means the study of ancient past. The study of past is called archaeology. Now, next question arises: what does archaeology tell us, or how it help us? So, archaeology help us in determining how men and women lived 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, I would say centuries ago. How men and women lived centuries ago. Archaeology comprises the buildings or monuments, coins, pottery, tools made of stones and metals, and, and figures, images, and all those objects that were used by the people centuries ago. These comes under the archaeology. So there, the people living in this age or centuries ago, their life is described as primitive. So what does this primitive tell us? Their life is described as primitive, which means that they were dependent on nature. They were largely dependent on nature because as we serve their means of livelihood, जो उनके livelihood का means serve करता था. So they eat food that was not cooked, clothes not sewn, and no houses. So at this stage, जो man है, he is described as primitive. Slowly he learned about his surroundings, nature, he grown plants, and tamed animals. At this stage, man is described as a food producer. Let me correct. Instead of primitive, I would like be saying food not cooked, clothes not sewn, not no houses. At this stage, man is described as food gatherer. When he slowly learned about his surroundings, grown plants, tamed animals, at this stage he is described as food producer. This is fine. So chapter 1 summary cleared. This one